Hello, welcome back. Let's get started back into this. This is part three of the origin of religions. Um, so the historical mystery here is you take an object like this, what they call the Lion Man, a prehistoric ivory sculpture discovered in a German cave in 1939. They're estimating around 40,000 years old. Is this art? Is this an idol? Did they believe it possessed a spirit? Was it lucky? Was it a toy? Right? I mean, was this a child's toy? So I've heard various theories and different arguments, but it seems that these have an idea of animism, the belief that all things have a soul, plants, inanimate objects, and natural phenomena. We also see examples of what would be called personification. So we have these words, anthropomorphic, um, animism. It's when they imagine the soul being in something that we would assume today with the theories of science do not have. For example, the trees. They're clapping in the clouds, angry winds. The cloud was blowing at it, but it was clapping. It made the sound. It was clapping so we're making the cloud seem like it's angry like a human and projecting human consciousness, feelings onto plants and inanimate objects, excuse me, and natural phenomena. Other examples we still see in cartoons and children's stories. So in entertainment, I have this picture of a worm and a picture of a spider on the outside of two images of a real worm and a spider that are more close to reality. The personification versions have human eyes, human mouths, and would act like a human would. So we see this and thinking that, okay, ancient humans were projecting their emotions on the clouds. Oh, the lightning, Zeus was throwing lightning down. The gods were angry at us. There was anger there because they had fear of the unknown. So that the unknown was filled with their imagination, if you will. Now, did the early Homo sapiens, the hunter gatherers, our ancient ancestors, did they imagine the spirit realms? Many people believe they did. Looking at these, what they call the Venus figurines from the Ice Age, they estimate around 25,000 years ago, found in Europe, various parts of Europe and ancient parts of the world. Were these examples of art? Are these relics of religious rituals? Are they idols? Were they fertility goddesses? Many theories, people were thinking that archaeologists were making incorrect inferences about these years ago. But I want to show this picture of this ancient Egyptian uh, on the papyrus, these facsimiles that show that they're thousands and thousands of years ago, they were already building on creation myths, ideas about an afterlife and spirit realms, and having rituals, spells, which would be compared to modern day religious groups that have prayers and blessings. And there's already a structure of hierarchy and ideas about a resurrection, the afterlife in that sense. So where do these ideas come from? It's very hard to point the finger at it, really exactly where, but we have to avoid the mistake when we compare primitive with modern cultures. And so in cultural anthropology, you need to avoid the error of false associations or comparisons between ancient cultures and modern people who live in primitive settings. So the Native Americans we see today that are emulating their ancient ancestors, or the even the people who are living in more primitive areas and cultures of the world, are they like what other primitive? Are they really like what the cultures were anciently? Um, let's take one example. For example, Yoruba religion of Nigeria, they have the deities, the Orishas. They're intermediaries between humankind and the gods, the supernatural realms. They have creation myths, reincarnation within families, and there are some similarities to the Vodun, the Voodoos, uh, the Voodoo religion. And so I want to end on this: is that were primitive religions very similar to what we see today? And we have to be careful reading some of these things that say that there may be some similarities, but this has evolved through time. Ideas evolve as much as living creatures do. And so we're going to finish on this slide here, showing that there were ancient sacrifices, and we're going to get into some concepts that religions don't practice today. So stay with us. Stay with us onto the next video, onto this series, The Origins of